to Maldini or a raw, injury-prone hybrid of Daley Blind and Christian Kivu? Just how good is Riccardo Calafiori?
Calafiori putting paid to hopes of that. Here's DiMarco.
In terms of defensive duels, Calafiori boasts a 66% success rate, which is pretty impressive. He engages in nearly 10 duels per game, and he's got this combination of high activity, high success, and that makes him a very formidable presence in the Bologna and Italian backline. He's got this proactive style. It means he steps up to challenge opponents, he breaks up play and prevents attacks from developing. He's got that willingness to engage in duels, so he's very committed to disrupting the opposition. Now, despite his physical attributes, he's a very highly intelligent defender. His ability to read the game, time his tackles effectively, they compensate for a slight lack of pace. I'd say his standout attribute is his quick reactions. Now, he's not the fastest player, but he's got this ability to think and react quicker than others, and that allows him to step in front of, like, for example, centre forwards, as well as in and around the box. He's very reactive, positions himself well to block crosses and make last-ditch tackles. I'd say he's also useful when he's sort of marauding higher up the pitch because he can intercept passes, apply pressure to opponents, and force them into mistakes. Overall, a mixture of a dog and a sweeper type of defender, he combines physical, aggressive defending with intelligent positioning and anticipation. In terms of Calafiori's ball-winning, 1v1 defending, he's someone who can really read what opponents are going to do, and he's a very intelligent 1v1 defender. He's also willing to go to ground, make tackles. His timing of the tackle is good, and he's a very aggressive player, and that willingness to engage in that physical duel is very reminiscent of the traditional Italian defensive style. He's not afraid to be physical or dirty when necessary, and that gives him a certain edge. Having said that, he does have some weaknesses in terms of recovery challenges against quicker opponents. He can struggle, and he resorts to lunging tackles. Now, you could say, well, it's tactical fouling. When he's beaten by more athletic players, he's trying to protect his team, knowing that he's kind of got past and they need that protection. But having said that, this could give away dangerous set pieces, and he could end up accumulating yellow cards and sometimes even red cards. I think if we're drawing a comparison with Daley Blind, he was someone who also struggled in the Premier League due to his lack of speed, but internationally, when he played in systems that mitigated this weakness, he was a good player. I think Calafiori's success will really depend on the tactical setup he plays in and the support he has from his teammates. Hey everyone, Pythag here today, and I'm excited to share something that has truly transformed my sleep, the Manta Sleep Mask. If you're like me and you value a good night's sleep, then you're going to love this. Now, due to my line of work and I've got 2 kids, at times I struggle with light disrupting my sleep, especially if I'm traveling or I'm taking naps during the day. And that's where the Manta Sleep Mask comes in. It's not just any sleep mask, it's designed for maximum comfort and complete darkness. As you can see, it fits perfectly, it blocks out all the light, it allows me to fall asleep faster and wake up feeling refreshed. And the mask is fully adjustable, it fits to any head size, the materials are super soft and breathable, it feels like a gentle hug for your face. So I've partnered with Manta Sleep to give you an exclusive discount. Check out Manta Sleep in the link below. Make sure you use the Pythagoras and Boots code for 10% off your order. And just note that that offer excludes bundles because they're already discounted, but everything else is fair game. You can find the link, the discount code at the top of the video description, and I'll also pin it in the comments below. So if you're ready to take your sleep to the next level, give the Manta Sleep Mask a try. Trust me, it's a game changer for anyone who values their sleep. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe for more tips and reviews. Sweet dreams. Calafiori's dribbling, it's talented, but it's also raw. So he boasts a dribbling success rate of 56%, and he makes 2 progressive runs per game. That's good. That indicates that his dribbling forms a significant component of his game. He can pick up the ball from deep and drive past multiple opponents, which is pretty rare for a defensive player, one who isn't a traditional fullback. So it's a unique tactical weapon. And because he can break lines with his dribbling by driving through the centre of the pitch, he can transition his team from defence to attack, putting them on the front foot. And that was demonstrated in the Euros against Croatia, where his dribbling played a crucial role in advancing Italy to the round of 16. But whilst it is a significant strength, it's also a source of risk. He regularly overruns the ball and takes on too many opponents, and this can lead to turnovers or fouls where he lunges into opponents. I think with better coaching, he could learn to balance that ambition with safer decision making. He's still quite inexperienced. He hasn't had a consistent run of playing without injury, So in theory, he could become more sharper in his dribble the more he plays football with better players, and also physically just feels better. Having said that, I don't think his dribbling is elite enough or nimble enough to feature as a left back in the Premier League or Business End Champions League. I think as a wide centre back, it's okay. In terms of his possession game, Calafiori averages over 90% pass accuracy and he completes almost 60 passes per game. That's an impressive statistic, so he's reliable, he's quite efficient in possession and he's influential. Now, he's generally comfortable in the build-up phase, often striding forward from the back, and provided he isn't careless with his dribbling, which we touched upon in the previous section, which he can be prone to, he can at times almost look like a Paolo Maldini, but the older version at AC Milan, just in terms of his gait. He's got that classiness. He can break the lines, he can beat the press, and then he plays these simple yet effective passes into midfield. So I think he's someone who will be useful in a possession-based team. And one factor which helps him is his solid weaker foot. He's comfortable using his right foot when needed, such as when the ball comes over his shoulder. So instead of just passing back to the goalkeeper, he's willing to take that risk on his right foot to play a reverse pass and keep the game moving forward. So he's quite an unpredictable player as well. What I would say though, in terms of the eye test, he's not crazy nimble on the ball. So if confronted with space, yeah, he can burst into it. But at centre-back, you get more time to fake a pass and then drive into space. At left-back, will he get that same amount of time on the ball? And yeah, his IQ is good, but he's not as progressive on the ball as it appears during the Euros. The Euros paint this picture. He's very progressive. For Bologna, not as progressive if pushed into wider areas. Calafiori's aerial prowess is one of his standout attributes, engaging in almost 4 aerial duels per game, winning them at a 60% success rate. He's got a significant level of dominance in the air. I'd say from goal kicks, he's not as dominant as a Van Dijk type figure, but in terms of his set piece defending, he's a great player. He's very dominant. His courage, his timing is exceptional, and it allows him to win headers even in crowded and challenging scenarios. He does sometimes misjudge jumps if opponents get a run on him, and this is a situation that happens to him from goal kicks. Not often, because generally he dominates, but against a more powerful, physically dynamic type of player with as much courage as him, this is something where he could potentially get caught out, whereas a Van Dijk, I just feel like dominates generally all battles that he has from an aerial perspective. But if he plays out at left back, I can't really envision many wingers out jumping him. In terms of room for improvement, his goal threat is limited. Yes, he wins aerial duels, but can he utilise this ability to win flick-ons and also improve his accuracy in terms of his heading at goal to transform him into a potent aerial threat? In terms of creativity, Calafiori is not the most accurate when it comes to passes into the final third. He attempts these passes relatively often, but the success rate indicates room for improvement. He does recognise potential passing opportunities, but there's an issue with his technique and feel in terms of decision making, particularly on longer mid-range passes. So he doesn't really create meaningful chances. In terms of close quarters play, he's got better composure, keeps his head up, does assess his options, and he can use the foot roll to buy himself time. So his link-up play in and around the box is better than when he's passing from a deeper area on the pitch. I think compared to elite passers like Hummels, Laporte, he's way off. They exhibit superior accuracy and weight of pass. They're more effective in breaking lines and initiating attacks. So I wouldn't say that Calafiori is a playmaker from the back in terms of his passing. So this is something which he needs to change. It needs to be coached into him so that he's got a better understanding of the nuances of timing and space in relation to his teammates' movements. Despite his limitations in terms of threaded through balls, Calafiori's crossing ability is noteworthy given that his primary role is still a centre-back for Bologna, but he boasts a 44% crossing accuracy, and that's an impressive figure, considering that he's got limited opportunities in which to deliver crosses. Under Motta's tactics, he does have this freedom to advance into crossing positions, and it showcases his adaptability and willingness to contribute offensively. Now, his performances for Italy, they highlight his proficiency in this area. When he's given that chance to move out wide, he does excel at whipping in crosses, particularly when he's made an overlapping run initiated after a 1-2. I think his technique for delivering cutbacks and sliding crosses towards the far post is also pretty effective. I'd say his crossing style can be likened too blind because he's got that precise, well-timed delivery. I think the challenge for him is how does he consistently get forward to utilise his crossing ability? If deployed as a left back, he needs to increase his volume of crosses to maximise his effectiveness and assist potential. While statistics indicate 60% accuracy rate for Calafiori's long passes, I think this figure is misleading. I think many of his passes are not delivered in a way that makes it easy for teammates to control. Often they're played behind rather than in front of teammates, and they disrupt the flow of play and make it difficult for his teammates to run onto the ball with ease. He's got that vision to attempt ambitious long passes, but I think its execution is inconsistent. Vertical passes in particular, they lack precision and proper weighting, making them speculative at least. When he's doing diagonal switches of play and it's to advance the point of attack, he produces some remarkable passes. It's more the switches of play which are simple switches of play to say his opposite fullback in a sort of straight, horizontal or parallel line. That's when these passes tend to go backwards and they invite pressure onto his team. When he attempts curled whip balls into the channel, his technique appears sound. So he's got that potential, I think, to hit precise and effective long balls. But again, the consistency and judgment, that's what needs development here. If Calafiori is to play in a possession-based team, the speculative nature of these long passes might be deemed too risky. So he needs to work on his refinement and utilize this less, but utilize it with greater precision. In terms of goal scoring, Calafiori has quick reactions in and around the box, and that's essential for capitalizing on loose balls, rebounds. He's got a good left foot, which he uses to good effect. I think his shooting technique, it's not fully developed, but it's got potential. He can strike half volleys. He's capable of producing some powerful shots, but I think overall his technique lacks finesse, and I think he'd benefit from refining his shooting mechanics, especially because he's a player who, due to his ability to drive forward, he gets into some really great positions and there's goals to be had here. He just really needs to work on his long-range shooting in particular because it's underdeveloped. But if he could nail that long-range shooting technique, I think he could become a really, valuable, unique tactical weapon, particularly because he strides forwards. Overall, I'd say Calafiori doesn't possess a wide range of shooting techniques. It's unlikely he's going to become a set-piece specialist, for example. But if he can focus on getting his head over the ball more, driving through it cleanly, he would see improvements.
It's the end.
Tactically, Calafiori's shown versatility through his career. At Bologna, he's played as a left centre-back in a 4-1-4-1. That can also turn into a 4-2-3-1. As a left centre-back for the Italian team, he's featured as a left-back, a wide left centre-back. So he's someone who's quite versatile, and you can see why he's attractive to clubs like Arsenal, Chelsea, because he can plug quite a few gaps, especially down the left side of defence. In terms of what I think is his best position, due to that lack of pace, for me, I'm slightly concerned about him in roles where he has to face speedy wingers. Now, centre-back is a position which I think he has the highest ceiling in. His pace is less of a liability, and when he's played against players like Osimhen, although they're athletic centre-forwards, he's athletic enough to play as a left centre-back. In a back three, do I think he's as athletic as someone like Lilian Thuram or Paolo Maldini? No. So who he's paired with at wing back would be really key if he's playing in a back five. I think if he's with a left wing back, let's just say like a Lizarazu type, who can get back, defend, I think it's less of a problem. If he's paired with a left wing back who's just going to fly forward, leave him exposed against a winger, let's just say Lamine Yamal, that could potentially be a problem. In terms of playing as a left back in a back four, in the Premier League, he's going to be up against pacey wingers. Now, the key is he going to be up against pacey wingers who can go down the line? Most wingers these days are inverted. But if he comes up against who's a two-way threat, that could be a problem because we saw with Lamine Yamal, he skipped past a Calafiori and left him for dead in terms of pace. Now, but when he inverted, Calafiori was able to keep up with him. So this is the key here. Tactically, if he does go to Arsenal, Arteta is going to have to be very smart in terms of which teams he uses him against, because as we saw with Daley Blind at United, he couldn't play in the back four in the Premier League. He just wasn't at that elite tier physically. Now, going back to Arsenal, he could provide cover and competition for Gabriel at centre-back. He could also play in that inverted left-back role and as well as a defensive left-back role to Kivio and Zinchenko, a bit of a hybrid of both. And what he brings is that ability to invert into midfield. He's comfortable in possession. He can drive into central areas. He can also hold width. So in terms of if he does overlap a Martinelli, he's got great crossing ability. And he's also defensive, more solid than a Kivio. So overall, he is an upgrade, I think, to their left-back situation. Is he the ideal sort of upgrade, especially considering it's the Premier League? I'm not so sure. In terms of the centre-back situation, in games like the Champions League where Gabriel can be prone to brain farts, Calafiori's increased possession, competence, and also his higher ceiling on the ball could be useful if he's paired up with, say, a Saliba in a game where they're going to get pressed a lot. Those two together would be a very difficult duo to press, and I reckon with coaching he could potentially make less errors than a Gabriel in the long term. Now we know he's been linked to Chelsea, but they've got similar profiles in Badiashile, Colwill. So for me, bringing another inexperienced centre-back who is a bit of a puntless, truth be told, due to the lack of football, due to his injury-prone nature, I don't think that makes sense for them. Is he an upgrade on Cucurella? I think at this moment in time, Cucurella is a really solid option for them. He's proven himself for Spain. He had a good second half of the season for them. He's defensively relatively secure. He can mark some of the best wingers in the Premier League. So for me, it doesn't make sense for them to bring in a Calafiori, because for me at this moment in time, he's not a certain upgrade. Yeah, he could potentially be an upgrade, but their chaotic nature, they need, players that are coming in and going to do the business right now. So for me, slightly better off, I think, going to an Arsenal than a Chelsea. In conclusion, Calafiori is a promising talent, but I don't think he's going to reach the heights of a Paolo Maldini. Unlike Maldini, who possessed exceptional athleticism, upper-end IQ, and could challenge the most dynamic wingers in football, I think Calafiori struggles with recovery pace, and we've seen glimpses of that during the Euros, and especially in the Bologna footage. I think this limitation raises concerns about his ceiling as a left-back, particularly in the fast-paced Premier League. As a centre-back, I think Calafiori shows more promise. Now, he's not going to become one of the greatest centre-backs ever, but he's a well-rounded player with some solid attributes. Strong in the air, excellent timing in the tackle, and he demonstrates tactical intelligence, especially when he's nicking in front of strikers like Victor Osimhen. So he's got that ability, I think, to mark out some really top-tier forwards, and that would make him a particularly useful player in high-stake Champions League games, where composure and class are essential. Now, his playing style is reminiscent to an older Maldini, one who had transitioned to the centre-back role and had lost his legs a bit. But he's not at Maldini's level. But nevertheless, he's got a similar approach to the game. I'd say he's got a higher ceiling than a Daley Blind at centre-back, especially in terms of physical attributes. I think he is quicker than a Daley Blind, but I don't think he's got Daley Blind's passing ability. I think a more fitting comparison might be a Christian Kivu, versatile defender who was also injury prone, but eventually played enough games and then achieved success at high levels. I think Calafiori has a similar potential in terms of a left-back, centre-back hybrid. So he's an intriguing prospect, but due to his injury prone nature, due to the lack of experience of football and the lack of footage, this guy might be a one-hit wonder. We've seen players that have thrived at international level come to the club level with very little football, and they don't really live up to the hype. So there's that danger there with Calafiori. He's not a surefire hit. Overall, I think for the prices touted for Calafiori, I think he's a worthwhile investment, because even if it goes wrong, I reckon he'll have good resale value back into the Italian league. So really intrigued to see how he does, and hopefully he can stay fit and hopefully he can keep developing, because the more football he plays, you'd hope he gets more sharper and gets better decision making, and there's a lot of promise in this boy for sure. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, share and subscribe. I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.